Greetings, I'm Kali Ross with In Pursuit of Purity. It is my desire to learn as much as I can about chocolate and the chocolate industry. I would love to share the experience with you, so I hope you enjoy these videos.
Well, greetings, everyone. I am so grateful to have you here today because I am blessed to be here with Will Lydgate from Lydgate Farms on the island of Kauai. Thank you so much for joining me, Will.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Well, I have recently been introduced to the great stuff that's coming out of Lydgate Farms, and so I'm so excited to have you here. I was really excited and found it really fascinating when I started reading about your family and just learning about how much your family has had an impact on the local culture as well as agriculturally. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your family's rich history?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks. So I'm here on the island of Kauai running Lydgate Farms. Now we do cacao, we do vanilla, we do honey, we used to do a lot of ag tourism. Of course, it's COVID right now, so things are a little bit different. And we're coming from a place of some history here in the Hawaiian Islands. So my great-great-grandfather, William Lydgate, came to the big island of Hawaii in 1865. This was the days of the Hawaiian Kingdom. This was, really before the sugarcane era really started, which was, I think, a reciprocity treaty, late 1800s, that really got going. The sort of late 1800s industrial sugar boom really kicked off. And great-great-grandfather started an ironworks there and founded a Laupahoehoe sugarcane plantation. There, he had an agricultural influence in a couple different ways. He was one of the first people to use cover crops in sugarcane. He also was one of the first people to use flumes, ditches to transport cane.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of great stories about like kids playing in the ditches, and this was like way before things were safe. You know what I mean? You had to get out of the ditch before the 20-foot drop. That was the most important thing. And anyway, great-grandfather John Mortimer Lydgate is sort of the most well-known of the Lydgates. He was, raised amongst all this stuff. In those days, it was, there were some Europeans, there were some Chinese. The Japanese hadn't really come yet. There weren't many Filipino people. So it was really just Europeans, some Chinese, and Hawaiians. There were still a lot of Hawaiians, and the Hawaiians really spoke the Hawaiian language. Anyway, in the 1860s, there were still a lot of Hawaiians. They still spoke Hawaiian. And so great-grandfather learned to speak Hawaiian from them. And he actually didn't really want to do sugarcane. He ended up becoming a minister. He was a surveyor for the kingdom. And then later, of course, the territory after the overthrow of the monarchy. He was a botanist. He trained with the very first botanist in the Hawaiian Islands, who was a guy named Wilhelm Hillebrand. He was the first Western botanist in Hawaii. So actually, there's a lot of native plants named after my great-grandfather because, you're out there surveying or whatever, and you come across a plant species and you know how to identify it and then name it for science. And so a lot of Lydgateis, that was very inspiring to me as a young person. Mm-hmm. So great-grandfather ended up on the island of Kauai, where he was the minister at the Old Stone Church in Lahui. And he was a surveyor. He did all sorts of other things on this island. He was actually, right after he retired from the ministry, he was surveying here in a part of the island called Wailua. It's a very sacred part of the island. So he was surveying, and he came across a big overgrown structure that turned out to be a heiau, which is the old Hawaiian temples from the indigenous religion. And in short, he had that land set aside for conservation through the creation of a historical society here on Kauai. Now, in 1917, these people didn't care as much about preservation, cultural preservation, as they do today. Mm-hmm. So that was really forward-looking. And he passed away in 1922. They actually named the land after him. So we got Lydgate Memorial Beach Park down there in Wailua. Everyone learns to swim there when you're a little kid. There's a great playground, and it's super positive. So, I grew up, I was actually born, my grandpa left Hawaii in 1928. So despite all of the Hawaii mystique, I was born in California. My dad was born in the But we had all these weird, like, traditions in our family: body surfing, hibachi grilling, going barefoot, you know, a certain laissez-faire attitude about child rearing, you know, let the play outside a lot, play in tide pools. And I came back here. Both my father came back in the 70s, and I ended up, but was still back and forth. I came back a lot as a child, and just imagine discovering the most magical island on the planet. Turns out your family's from there. Oh, there's this park named after you, family. And there's this magical history and these magical stories about growing up, this magical place with the Hawaiians and everyone. And so that had a big impact on me. We planted our first cacao in 2001, sort of just for fun, on a little parcel of agricultural land here. And it was like, chocolate grows on trees? What? Chocolate's a fruit? Oh, I've got one of these, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
So this is a cacao pod. We can get into this a little bit later. So this is a fruit. Chocolate is a fruit. And it makes chocolate bars. Yum.
Great ones.
So yeah. Chocolate grows on trees. Like, what? Chocolate grows in Hawaii? What? That really excited us and interested us. We planted some, and then planted more, and then started doing educational tours on chocolate, growing chocolate, encouraging others to grow chocolate. Family business I took over full-time about 4 years ago. I've been very interested in expansion. I want to see more chocolate planted. You know, we're losing most of our agriculture here. Certainly all of our plantation agriculture is pretty much gone. And that style of agriculture is really not in favor anymore. There are lots of really good ways to do farming in plantation style agriculture that are very regenerative for soils and good for environment, good for climate. And we have typically a lot of visitors here that can really support that kind of thing and want to experience that kind of agriculture. And that has provided a business model for a way to sort of to do good in a sustainable way. Also to be guiding in our own way the future of Hawaii agriculture, which I think doesn't involve large-scale commodity crops. I think it involves, well, hopefully large-scale value-added crops. Like, look at what Napa Valley's done. You know, we want to do that for chocolate and other crops, have something you can experience and have a take-home product that feels good and you know about with as few steps in between the farmer and the customer as possible.
Yeah, can you tell us, how did you decide on cacao and what type of cacao?
I don't know if we chose cacao. I think cacao chose us. You know?
How so? Tell us.
I'm not so sure that we chose it. I mean, this is a magical fruit. Like, chocolate comes from this thing. This is an interesting variety. This is one that sort of arose on our farm. It, to me, looks like it's a half Upper Amazon Forastero sort of type, and it's half what I would call a Trinitario, which was there's some kind of Criollo genetics in there because it's red. And this is like a typical Hawaii hybrid. This is a tree that was planted from seed, so it's a unique individual, never be sort of duplicated. But it has a lot of traits of the parents, tends to have a fruity flavor. A lot of our chocolate has fruity flavors here. So if we open this thing up.
Oh, this is the exciting part.
Yeah. So pop the knife in there, right? And then just one twist. That's all you need. And then.
Wow.
I don't know what you were expecting out there, but this is chocolate. So it smells like Jamaican lilikoi, if you're familiar with that one. It smells exactly like Jamaican lilikoi. It's a sweet fruit. Who wouldn't be fascinated with this?
Right.
Who that has a background in plants and has a love for plants and a fascination with plants. I'm the kind of person that if you point to a plant, I can tell you what it is because I have that interest in plants. So there is a certain propensity towards understanding botanical knowledge. Did that come from the feeling of affinity with an ancestor who knew about plants? I don't know. But anyway, to then see this and go, this is chocolate? What a mystery. And I can tell you a lot about this, but in 2001, nobody knew anything about this. You could not get information. UH didn't know a thing. Department of Agriculture didn't know a thing. Nobody knew anything about fermentation. Nobody knew anything about varietals. So we've been doing, and maybe somebody did if we would have talked to the right person, somewhere, some international cacao consultant, but in Trinidad or someone who's going to Africa, someone in Europe. Now we know a lot of this stuff. So I think cacao chose us because it's a magical and fascinating plant. The pulp tastes amazing. It tastes like lychee. Here, let me eat some of this. And then Calais, on our website, the lydgatefarms.shop one, we have cacao nectar jelly. You can order. Tastes just like this. So sweet pulp, delicious. Inside the seed is purple, bitter. This one's extra bitter. And that this purple bitter stuff makes chocolate, like what? It is intriguing. And I think that this tree really intrigued myself, my father, my sister, who were here at that time. It really picked us. Now, the first tree that we got was a Trinitario variety from National Tropical Botanical Garden in Allerton Gardens. A classic Trinitario is a cross between a pure Criollo and a pure Amelinado, which is a lower Amazon forastero from Bahia. It tends to have a more chocolatey flavor. Criollos have beautiful flavor. Hard to describe. It's a certain beautiful chocolatey flavor, can be fruity, can be quite floral. Those together make a Trinitario. There are still some pure Trinitarios out there, but a lot of Trinitarios are highly inbred. There's a lot of highly inbred Trinitarios here in Hawaii. And that was one of the original varieties that we had. So you see this could go on for a long time, but I'm going to too much time. But that was the first variety. Then we got some varieties we collected some Criollo, which was on this island from God knows when. It was here, right? One really cool thing about a lot of Pacific islands, they have ancient Criollos just on them that were likely introduced in the 1800s. Wow. And I don't know when the first introduction to this island was. So we have a few genetically pure ancient Criollos, which means, of course, we can do our own breeding programs and hand pollinating to create our own new varieties. Mm-hmm. And so when you taste our chocolate, the Lydgate Farms bars, you'll taste that fruitiness. That's coming from the OG Trinitarios and Criollos that we have. A lot of that's coming from this Upper Amazon Forastero / Trinitario variety trial material. There's a lot of different kinds of cacao. Some of it tastes really, really good. Some of it grows really, really well. Some of it's really disease resistant. Some of it is all of those things. And a lot of it we really don't know yet. We're at the very beginning of determining cacao varieties here in the state. Very few people have varieties. Hey, this tastes good. This works for us. We're growing it. We're grafting it out. We're spreading it around our farm. We have 1,000 of these individual trees. Just like an apple farmer would have Honeycrisp apples. Okay. Mm-hmm. That means that they took a Honeycrisp apple and they grafted it to 1,000 trees or whatever, however many apples an apple farmer has. I don't know, 10,000. So we're not there yet. But we're working on it and getting there. It's 4 to 5 years to determine anything. So in 5 to 10 years, you're going to see whole blocks of trees that are one variety, single varietal bars coming from Hawaii. We can sort of start to do that, and I'm working on that hard, but just the fact that it's a tree crop takes incredible amounts of patience and money and time and wherewithal to determine that, because
sure,
it's a tough thing. So it's a deep discussion, cacao genetics, varietals, and I think Hawaii is going to be a very exciting place to showcase these things, so that we can do what the wine people do, which is have here's a varietal bar, and we're working on it, and we're getting there. We're working on it for you guys. We're going to do it for you, Calais. Just give us some time. The good news is it tastes really good right now.
You brought up a really interesting point as far as the varietals, and that leads me to ask about what was a specific varietal that was selected for the Cacao of Excellence Award.
Got it.
That you,
So when we got the Cacao of Excellence recognition for top 50 best in the world in Paris at the Salon du Chocolat, that was actually a blend fillet. So that was, we didn't have a single varietal. It's a 10 kilogram sample. I could see potentially for the next Cacao of Excellence 2021 putting in, sort of a curated blend. Although our blend of genetics tastes really good right now. The chocolate tastes really good.
mm-hmm.
I think if anything, it'll get more distinctive as we go along. But I like that our chocolate has a really nice chocolatey flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just super aggressively fruity. It also has the brightness and acidity and a wonderful mouthfeel. It's really tasty. It's not bitter. I like what's happening with the chocolate now. So I'm not sure if I would really move until I could do more work. So I would say it was a blend of Trinitarios and Upper Amazon Forasteros that we sent over to Cacao to get that recognition.
With the chocolate that you're making, what is it that you're really wanting the consumer to be able to experience?
I want the consumer, as I eat this chocolate, I want our customers, our chocolate ohana, to know that chocolate grows in Hawaii, to discover that chocolate tastes like more than chocolate, to know that chocolate is a fruit, to know that chocolate has these amazing health benefits, and to find our chocolate as a chocolate that you actually want to spend some quality time with, sort of like your favorite person. I want them to experience something different and to say, wow, this is a chocolate. I just want to break off a little piece and I'm going to smell it and I'm going to sit there and I'm not going to eat the whole bar and I'm just going to enjoy my life and have a meditative moment and taste something and experience senses. I want to take people there. Is that clear?
Yeah, I mean it's an experiential moment versus just mere consumption, if you will.
Yeah, and I like this, chocolate that you want to take time with. I like that.
One of the things you had mentioned is that you would like people to know about the health benefits of chocolate.
Yeah. Why, yes.
Say more about that.
Wow. Is there a single food that is healthier for you on the planet? Not kale chips. What else is healthier? I can't think of anything. Chocolate is so good for you on so many levels. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to say it again. Chocolate is a fruit. How many servings of fruit are you supposed to have every day? Is it fruit salad? I don't know. Is it? That's a little bit silly, but I'm not wrong. Chocolate is incredibly high in antioxidants. It's the same kind of antioxidants that are found in green tea. So it's the catechins. So many healthful compounds. The purple inside of the seed, you remember, purple foods are very high in antioxidants, anthocyanins. All of these things have a tremendous amount of health benefits and also flavors associated with them. So chocolate is also very high in lipids and fats and healthy fats. So the cocoa butter, which is the fat of chocolate that gives it its beautiful melt and shine. And one of the reasons we love it so much is very high in stearic and oleic acid. So these help to balance cholesterol, raise good cholesterol, lower bad cholesterol. So that's really wonderful. Chocolate's very high in trace minerals, highest plant-based source of magnesium, lots of selenium, molybdenum, things you're supposed to have a little bit of every day, but unless you take a multivitamin, are you really getting them? I don't know. How do you get all the stuff you're supposed to eat every day? If you add it all up, the daily values or whatever, hard to say. Eat chocolate. It's easier. It's vitamins. Chocolate is balances serotonin and dopamine levels. Chocolate contains anandamide, which is a pleasure-inducing neurotransmitter. Chocolate can produce oxytocin, which is the same chemical that's released when people eat together, when people sing together, when mothers breastfeed, when lovers embrace. So this is like the kind of bonding hormone, oxytocin. And chocolate contains methylxanthines, mood stimulants. The main one, theobromine. Theobromine makes you feel good. It's a very mild stimulant. It's a great stimulant, not speedy at all, just makes you feel great. Chocolate has a relaxing effect on blood platelets, so it can be good for headaches. Chocolate's scientific name is Theobroma cacao, which means food of the gods, because in the 1700s, it was seen as this health food and this sacred food, because that's where the Aztecs were coming from with it. It was the food of the divinity. It was a sacred food. It was a health food used in religious rituals, ceremonies, weddings. Rich people consumed it. It was the food of the gods. It's only since said post-industrial sugar boom that chocolate became candy at all. And this is, of course, where you're coming from, Calais. You had this post-industrial sugar boom candy where chocolate was just a little brown melty version of all whatever, red vines and all the stuff, the Willy Wonka era, right? It was a great era, but now it turns out I think the era is over.
So as you're talking about this, a lot of people still see chocolate as candy. And the thought of spending anything more than $2 for a bar of chocolate is alarming to some people. Can you shed some light on what goes on behind all of that that leads to the price point that it's at?
First of all, I think it's worth pointing out that most specialty chocolate bars, bean to bar chocolate bars that tend to have a $10, $12, $15, $20 price tag, or in some cases higher, likely, and I can say in many cases that I'm personally familiar with, including our bar, don't have as lucrative of profit margins as the candy bar chocolates do. So it's likely that the $2 chocolate bar person, or even like the $4 chocolate bar person where they just put like a picture of a manatee on it and then sell it for $4, like are making more money per unit ratio than an expensive bar is, because the expensive bars actually pay the farmers a good price for their beans. So let me talk a little bit about being a farmer in the United States, chocolate farmer in the United States, if I can. Actually, on August 30th of this month, August 30th, the Fine Chocolate and Cacao Institute is doing a little United States grower feature on Lydgate Farms. And I'll be on there talking with Dylan from Manoa Chocolate. And we'll be talking about what it means to be a cacao farmer in the United States. We have some massive advantages over our counterparts in other places. I mean, you got some countries, Dominican Republic I've been to, they have pretty good roads in many places, good infrastructure. And then you have some countries that really don't. I don't know, Madagascar, parts of East West Africa, origins, just all over Central South America. Its access is very hard. So here in the United States, here in Hawaii, we have great roads. We have banks that keep your money. We have a government that doesn't, come and snatch you away. We have a stable currency. That's the global standard for debt, all these things. So we have these amazing advantages. We have customers. We have the best customers in the world, right? And we have direct access to them. There's no language barrier. No passport is needed. So we have all these advantages. What we do not have is a level playing field in terms of labor rates and land prices and costs. So if you're paying a farmer $5 a day or less, or it's like some kind of indentured servitude in some cases for some of the West African scenes over there, you can sell the finished chocolate bar for $1 or $2 and make a profit, because it's built on the backs of those farmers, right? So you can imagine that paying them a living wage, or even like a good wage, in return for a higher quality product is something that sort of destroys that candy bar business model. It doesn't work. It doesn't work with that. So here, we take really good care of our farm. I pay my farm workers more than the average farm worker gets paid in Hawaii. We have all these labor laws in place. The government takes care of it. I mean, you're not going to have slave labor here in the United States. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff here. And you can cut out the whole sort of post-colonial, post-missionary guilt complex about taking care of the other people. Just come meet the farmers directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're right here. You don't have to, go through all these intermediaries to know if the farmer's happy. You can call us. You text us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can Zoom with me. How you doing? Well, COVID's pretty rough, but I'm happy to be spreading the word about what we do. Hope it reaches somebody. So our bars cost what they do because that's what they have to cost in order for us to keep from just losing money.
Mm-hmm.
Land costs are very high. Of course, we take good care of our workers. We use strictly organic fertilizers. We do a lot of hand weeding. We don't do any pesticides, sprays, things like that. We tend to put a lot of love and do extra into the soil. We do extra things that you don't have to do because it makes the soil healthier, and that strategic advantage makes the chocolate taste better. Also, people want that. So these are the kinds of things I think with a United States grown chocolate bar that you're going to see. Plus, here in Hawaii, we have a lot of business costs that are very high. There's a lot of taxes. There's a lot of just overhead insurance that you're mandated to get, that you have to get.
Right.
And it's all great. We love it. But you would just be shocked at all the money going out. And it really just has to be that way. And the good news is that we have a specialty market now where our Hawaii bars can actually fit into that. Whereas 20 years ago, we wouldn't have really been able to do this.
Well, it's important that we talk about chocolate.
Definitely.
I thought it would be important to talk about some of the other products, the other things that you grow on your farm, because as you had mentioned, the cacao jelly.
Yeah.
The nectar is out of this world.
You tried it. Did we get you some, right?
So tell us about some of these products that you're putting out from your farm.
Great. Yeah. Well, we use every part of the chocolate. And folks can see these, our website, lydgatefarms.com, or our links to our web shop, lydgatefarms.shop. You can see a full list of the products there. I mean, the bars are obvious, right? But to me, it's some of the other products that get really exciting because they're things that most people would treat as byproducts, but we've turned them into really delicious experiences. One of those is the cacao nectar. We were the first people I think I saw doing anything with this in the United States. So I don't know if we get first mover cred. Honestly, nobody really knows what it is even yet still. Nobody knows. Chocolate is a fruit. The fruit has a sweet pulp. And when you harvest these fruits, we harvest a few thousand fruits. You pull the seeds off of this central stalk here, and we put them in like 5-gallon buckets, 5-gallon buckets. And then we actually, from there, drip the fresh juice and into other buckets. We store it, we freeze it. And it is the nectar of the gods. It is so delicious. And that is a unique experience. And so we get that to some friends of ours, Monkey Pod Jam, who we're featuring right now with our August Aloha subscription box. And that's a great product. And they make just a delicious jelly that preserves the floral flavor of this amazing fruit. So we also make a cacao shell tea, which is made from the roasted husks of the cacao bean. And you steep that in hot water, makes a delicious, good chocolate-scented tea. You can also infuse alcohols with it. And we make a brewing chocolate, which is like the fine pieces of nibs and shell. Again, great for infusing, brewing, tea making, all that stuff. Mixing with your coffee grounds. We partner with a company that does dried fruit, and we put our cacao nibs in with the dried fruit for like a kind of a trail mix. It's called the dried fruit and cacao nibs. So good. We make some other products. We grow coffee here on the farm, and we won't have coffee till the harvest starts. That's probably, the harvest is about to start. I'd say give us till October. Coffee will be back in stock to get it processed and dried and roasted and stuff. They're just barely starting to turn red from green. We have vanilla. We raise the tropical spice vanilla. sleeper crop. Pretty excited about that one. Goes great with chocolate. We raise honeybees. We have delicious palm blossom honey. And there's definitely a bunch of other stuff in there. Like we sell sort of chocolate tasting kits that compare our chocolate with other chocolates from around the world. That's really cool. Yeah, and right now we're just trying to get people products that they want and they want to send to friends and loved ones and just to get through this pandemic, you know?
Mm-hmm. So as we wrap up our time together here, what is the one thing that you would really like the viewers to take from our time together?
Yeah. Well, I'd like everyone to know that chocolate is a fruit and that the fruit has all these flavors associated with it, including the flavor of fresh cacao, which you can experience. I'd like people to remember that chocolate has amazing health benefits and that chocolate tastes more than just like chocolate. And it's really a good time to take chocolate out of the candy bar section of your mind and put it with the fine foods. Mm-hmm. And know that if you're eating $1 chocolate bar, there's some inequity behind that. I guarantee you. Chocolate grown in the United States, 0% inequity, 0% child labor. You're never going to have that here. So stop worrying about that stuff. And you can support us here in Hawaii to create chocolate farms that you can come and visit and have a personal relationship with. I think that's it. That I want to grow chocolate that makes you want to take time with it. Chocolate that you get excited to take time with and enjoy and think about, and to have that special moment that means something in a busy world. That's what I would like people to take away.
Well, thank you. This was a special moment with you.
Good.
I really appreciate you sharing your time with me and other viewers. So thank you so much, Will.
Okay. My pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely.